Jai Shri Krishna, Radhe Radhe. Shri Charasi Vaishnava Varta, recording number 3, part 3. Once Damodar Das and Sri Gosaiji were sitting together alone in a quiet place. Sri Gosaiji asked Damodar Das what he felt about his father. He replied that he was even greater than the Lord, the ruler of the world. Sri Gosaiji quizzed him as to why he thought like this. Again he replied, this time with the question, O Maharaj, is the gift greater or the giver of the gift? A person might possess much wealth, but it is only ever known when it is given away. Sri Acharyaji's greatest wealth is Srinathji, and he has granted this wealth to such a lowly jiva as myself. This is why I consider him to be superior. Part 4. Once Sri Gosaiji was sitting in his betak. With him were a few Vaishnavas, including Sri Kumbhandas and Sri Govindas. And they were all playing and laughing together, while Sri Gosaiji was telling them jokes. Damodar Das arrived there, and Sri Gosaiji received him respectfully. Damodar Das bowed low before Sri Gosaiji and said, this path is not to be taken lightly. It is very serious, and the adherent must be able to tolerate the pains and sadness which may ensue. Sri Gosaiji thanked him for reminding him of such a fact, but added that a Pushti Margi Jeev would only be able to experience such divine agony when they had been blessed by Sri Acharyaji. Otherwise it was impossible. This path, he stated, can only be known by those blessed by Sri Acharyaji. Damodar Das then humbly apologized for his words, saying that, although he knew that Sri Gosaiji is the Lord, they still had to be said, for that is the nature of the path. Sri Gosaiji was most pleased and told Damodar Das that he recognized that these teachings had come to him from his father through Damodar Das, and that no one else could teach such matters. Sri Gosaiji told Damodar Das how happy he felt, even just by seeing him, and that he should please continue to speak in such a manner whenever necessary, because he knew him to be his father's servant. After this he behaved according to what Damodar Das had said, because he realized the simple superiority of these words. Bhav Prakash. Here we see the reversal of the usual worldly protocol where the servant would never give instructions to the master. And Damodar Das' body might appear as his, but he was always filled with Sri Acharyaji's spirit. His every word came from Sri Acharyaji, and this is why Sri Gosaiji felt as if it were his father who was speaking directly to him. Part 5. On a certain day, it was time for Damodar Das to honour his father's passing with a Shraddha ceremony. Sri Gosaiji attended and performed the necessary rites. When Damodar Das went to have the early afternoon sight of Sri Thakurji, Sri Gosaiji then asked him for the traditional payment given to an officiating priest. Damodar Das replied that he would offer him the explanation of 1.5 verses from Sri Acharyaji's Siddhant Rahasya treatise. Sri Gosaiji asked him to continue, but Damodar Das said that was all. But when Sri Gosaiji kept quiet, Damodar Das elaborated on all the path's principles and teachings given by Sri Acharyaji. In Sri Subodhaniji, which is his commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam, his other works, e.g., Shodash Granth, and other private teachings. After this, Sri Gosaiji refused to let Damodar Das touch his feet, because he reasoned that his father was always present in Damodar Das's heart, so how could he let him bow down to him, the son? He also refused to give him the water in which his feet had been washed. Sri Acharyaji appeared to Damodar Das and told him to continue drinking that water. Damodar Das went to Sri Gosaiji the next morning and asked for some. Sri Gosaiji refused, but Damodar Das told him that his father had ordered it. Then Sri Gosaiji relented and granted his wish. Bhav Prakash. There is a reason and explanation for why Damodar Das was performing the Shraddha ceremony for his father. By his being a devotee, his father had already been uplifted in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the story of Prahaladji, and Lord Narasimha, it is stated that 21 generations, both past and future, are saved through one member becoming a true devotee. This is normal within the path of lawful limitations, but Damodar Das is a devotee in the path of grace, therefore there is absolutely no question about his father's liberation. On the other hand, it may be said that without his father having a proper, established relationship within the path of grace, then how could he gain acceptance? By Damodar Das's performance of the Shraddha and his relating this to Sri Gosaiji, the connection was established and the father accepted therein. The Guru must cement the acceptance, and this was the process that Damodar Das initiated. Another doubt is that he had indeed brought the acceptance from the Guru for his father, but not for all the other Vaishnavas. Here it is sure that Damodar Das is the divine foundation of all Vaishnavas, and thus the Shraddha that he did for his father spread to all the Pushti Vaishnavas, because this path was, as stated in by Sri Acharyaji, established for Damodar Das's sake, and from him proceeded all the Vaishnavas. The founding principle of the path of grace sprouted from here most certainly. Devotion within grace grew from Damodar Das, otherwise the devotional life within the path of grace cannot be grasped so quickly or easily. Damodar Das gave the explanation of 1.5 lines of Sri Acharyaji's Siddhant Rahasya treatise in payment for Sri Gosaiji's performing the rites. Sri Gosaiji asked him to continue, but Damodar Das refused, saying that he had vowed to just do this much, for even this small token delivers the purpose of the entire path. Then Sri Gosaiji would not let Damodar Das touch the water from his feet nor bow down to him, for he said, Damodar Das is Sri Swamiji's dear lady companion, and that affection was best given to her. Damodar Das did not argue with this, but then Sri Acharyaji intervened and told Damodar Das that he lives in Sri Gosaiji's heart, that Sri Gosaiji was his very own, manifested from himself. With this bhava, or heartfelt belief, Sri Gosaiji let Damodar Das drink the water from his feet, for it was really from his father and not from himself. Till now, if a Vaishnava partakes of that water, it is with the bhava that it comes from Sri Acharyaji alone.